I look at everything on a continuum when I analyze a problem, and what I described to you would probably be at the far out reaches of the continuum. I think that you've got to come up with a pragmatic solution that people will embrace, but I don't think that it should include a seat at the table with Mike Pompeo, who I greatly admire on the one hand, but who talked Trump out of releasing the Kennedy files when he was director of the CIA and Trump was the 45th president. And they both acknowledge it. And Pompeo, I am told, I was not told this in confidence, but said to someone I know and respect that he did not feel like he had done enough while he was at the CIA to rid it of partisanship and bad actors.
Well, that's an understatement.
You really don't have to go very far, much further, to understand the way the CIA operates than to look at James Angleton's statement just prior to his death, that he was certain that he was going to share a place in Hades with his colleagues at the CIA. And, we need the CIA. There are legions of people who risk their lives and give everything they've got to protect us.
They fell into the moral relativism trap. I mean, that's one of the big diseases of the 20th and the 21st century is moral relativism, and that we're not really any better than the other guys. Well, how many people the Chinese have killed and the Chinese Communist Party have killed and are still killing. Look how many people Stalin killed, and the Angleton was, I pronounced it wrong, was guilty of that same thing. They thought, well, they're bad, but we're bad too. And that is not the case. We need to be, America's an idea. America is one of the best ideas ever in terms of how men should organize themselves to govern each other. And we got to believe in that and stick with it. So, the Constitution was an ideal thing. That Constitution was way outside your Overton window when they put it in place. And we need to get back to that. I find myself in violent agreement with you. So,
well, thank you. And I'm glad to have found a new friend. I think that, the concept of moral authority is really, to me, a universal principle. And I don't think you have to be a Christian or a Muslim or Catholic or a Jew, whatever denomination, or an atheist and an agnostic. I think that a moral ground is innate in all of us. Now, some people aspire to it maybe to a higher degree than others. Maybe it's like the song from Camelot, the 7 deadly virtues, those ghastly little traps. Oh, no, my liege, they were not meant for me. Take courage. Now, there's a sport, an invitation to the state of rigor and charity a noble yet. And if charity means giving, I give it to you, and fidelity is only for your mate. So that
you gotta look. That's great. I gotta look that up.
But it illustrates the point that I'm trying to make, that morality and goodness are we impose those on others even if we don't impose them on ourselves. And I think that globally that everybody wants everybody else to treat them morally and ethically. So. But the United States, I think, used to be a leader in that realm, and I think we've lost that authority. We've lost our moral authority. Every leader in the free world knows that the CIA killed Kennedy. It's no longer a secret. David Talbot's written a book. Roger Stone's written a book. Douglas wrote a book called The Unspeakable. Mark Lane, The Rush to Judgment. I mean, and then you have people like Bobby Kennedy, who was one of the most affected people on earth by the assassination of his uncle and his father. I mean, clearly has insights that none of us probably have. And he firmly concludes that the CIA killed his uncle and his dad. So it's got to be exposed. It's got to be stopped. Part of my Overton window would be that we try these people even in memoriam, and we punish them. But we start by ripping their names off the buildings that we have honored them by. If they have violated the Constitution and the laws of this country in a material, serious manner, they do not deserve to have their name on the side of a building. Take it off, or on a street corner, or in a library. Rip it off. That's the only part of our heritage that I would believe should be dismantled.
Well, I so agree. And instead, they're toppling statues in Richmond, Virginia, of people who fought for their ideal. They lost, but we're in an upside down world, and they're renaming everything. But I don't know whether Dulles Airport's going to ever make that list, but it sounds like it should.
Well, I definitely think it should, but there's one little wrinkle in that makes it problematic. And I didn't know this until fairly recently, but Dulles Airport was actually named after John Foster Dulles, and not Allen Dulles, which creates a little bit of a problem. But I guarantee you, John Foster was probably knowledgeable of what happened, and so he was complicit by silence. So you talked about eliminating the Department of Education. That's the most practical and the easiest one for people to agree to. All we do is take money from the states, send it to Washington, so they can send it back to the states and tell them how to spend their own money that they've sent up. Now, what in the world, who, other than the men and women who work in the IRS, would oppose going to a fair tax? To me, I cannot find a problem with a consumer tax. It encourages savings. It is a fair tax across the board. And you could impose graduated sales taxes, consumer taxes, if you will, based on one's income level. It would be complicated. It's not easy, but it'd be a heck of a lot easier than the Internal Revenue Service code as we know it today. And I think we could take care of the impact that it would have on people of lesser means. Have you thought about that? Do you have an opinion?
Well, I think it's a big idea. I think a fair tax is a good idea, but these things keep falling into the sewer or into the swamp of pragmatic horse trading here in Washington. And the fear is you go for a fair tax based on consumption, and you still end up with an income tax. There's another aspect of the income tax that people don't talk about, which is the privacy issue. If you think about it, we've given the IRS the power to learn all about our financial affairs, et cetera, and we've lost much of our privacy. And now we've got them enacting this Corporate Transparency Act, which is going to require all small businesses in America to register with the Treasury's Financial Crimes Unit as if they're likely to commit a crime, further throwing a surveillance net over all of small business in America. So I think the fair tax is a fabulous idea, and getting rid of the income tax would get the governments out of our income and how we live our lives, and that would be a huge intended consequence of doing that.
Well, I would certainly be in favor of it. Steve Forbes could be recruited to come into the Trump administration and help continue to push that idea forward. And these problems are solvable, but I'm fond of the saying, if you always do what you've always done, you will always get what you've always got. And I think that's the mode we're in right now. And I do have a solution for getting the special interest under control. And this is another idea that I would be so excited to see part of a plan. And it's simple. It is so simple, it defies logic. We just, once we get the fear taken out of the legislators, so they're not fearful of being embarrassed or run out of town on a rail because of some mistake they made when they had too much to drink one night or went to a freak out. We very simply put a cap on how much special interest can donate, not only to campaigns, but also C4s. We rein it in, and simultaneously, we restore a federal income tax deduction to you and me and other people, other citizens who want to donate to political campaigns. And I think that would in very short order balance the disparity, because I've looked at financial disclosures. I've looked at them for a number of candidates. The amount of money that the special interests donate to candidates is unbelievable. And I'm going down the list trying to find somebody I know, and they're all corporations or PACs or C4s. I mean, you just can't find Joe Blow and his wife Susie anymore. It's almost something of bygone years that people give to candidates. Now, I know there are exceptions, and you're an exception, I'm an exception, and there are a lot of people who do fulfill that civic duty, but so much money is disproportionately weighted by the special interest.
The trillions of dollars that flow through D.C. are obscene, and they get rewarded for that campaign money with that turn around and give it right back to them. The Inflation Reduction Act, which is really the Green New Deal for Democrats, I'm in the Virginia, Maryland area, and there are these huge mansions out in Potomac. I got to town 25 years ago. They were huge then, but you know what's happening now? They've become teardowns, and they're building even bigger mansions out there, and that all comes from those billions of dollars that have flowed through the government coffers. So it's a feeding trough, and it's obscene. And I'm with you on trying to limit money. I think, though, that's another one that we're really pushing the Overton window because, I don't see these cats changing their stripes.
Well, let's while we're dreaming, let's impose term limits, and that would be another way that we could do it.
But you got to put term limits on the staffers as well.
100%, and that's part of Trump's plan, or maybe it's Project 2025. I don't know. I haven't read Project 2025, but I'm gonna download it and delve into it. But Trump's plan is that you can only serve in one agency for a maximum of 10 years, and then you have to rotate out to another place. I can think of a lot of devilment that could continue to happen, and maybe even more cronyism would be encouraged by that than the way we've got it now. I don't know, but I'm down for trying anything that will restore this country to the greatness that it once was when I was a kid, and Andy of Mayberry and the wonderful world of Disney really was wonderful. Those are the days I yearn for.
Me too. We mentioned I got this phone call that's coming in as we speak. Can we do a home and away or something like that? Maybe we'll get another show going with me.
Well, absolutely. Let's reconnect after the election. It's been a pleasure to have you, Bill. Bill Walton, a captain of industry, a movie producer, a philanthropist, and a civic activist. Thank you for coming on the show. Where can people find you?
Shares your dream. You can find me at the Bill Walton Show, and that'll lead you to everything else that I'm doing. This was great fun. I like you and your ideas, so let's do some more of this.
Well, thank you. And if you're ever down in West Palm Beach, give me a call, and we'll solve some of these problems over a cold beer or some clear liquid. Okay, good deal. Thank you.
All right, John, thanks.
Have a great day.
Bye-bye.